Welcome to the Complete Intro to Web Dev version 3. Today we are going to learn to write websites with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the first thing I want you to do just right now is to hop onto this particular course website that you're looking at here. We're going to spend all of our time today, or most of our time today anyway, in this website. So you can either just go directly to this URL that we have here, or you can just type bit.ly/web-dev-v3, and that'll take you directly to this site as well. Okay? So just to kind of orient you on how this website works, we have all these various different sections, and there's lessons within the sections. And if I click on the introduction here, you can see I have introduction and welcome to the class. So this is the section, and this is the lesson that we're in. So if you get lost, or if you hop ahead into a different lesson or something like that, you can always look at the header to see where I am in the course. Okay, so this, as I said, is the third version of Intro to Web Dev. You do not have to have taken previous versions of Web Dev, so you don't have to take V2 or V1. This is a total revision of it. We just try and keep it fresh. So I come back every so often to make sure that it has the most accurate information, the most up-to-date practices, all those kinds of things. So I wrote this course to help people go from not knowing how to code, wanting to create websites, to having some sort of idea so that they can express it and share that on the internet. So you do not need to know how to code to start this course. It's going to be helpful if you know about computers, right? Like, you need to know where the power button is. You need to know how to open a browser, those sorts of things. If that kind of stuff is unfamiliar to you, there is an awesome course already available to you for free called Internet Fundamentals. And I think I have a link to it down here to Internet Fundamentals. I'll just show you that here really quick. You can just hop in. Don't even have to create an account. You can just hop in and start watching videos right away. So thanks, Front-End Masters, for creating that. And it's taught by the awesome instructor, Jen Kramer, another Front-End Masters instructor. Okay. So throughout the course of this workshop course, we're going to go from learning HTML to CSS to JavaScript, and I'll kind of talk about what those are here in just a second. And we're going to go from not knowing how to code to eventually creating a Wordle clone. And if you're not familiar with Wordle, it's that app that sold to the New York Times for like several millions of dollars. So by the end of this class, you will have the skills to create $1 million app. I'm not saying that you're going to. That's not a promise. But you could, right? So again, who's this course for? Hopefully it's for you. I try to create it for you. If you have those kind of internet fundamentals skills, you should be good to go already. This class is going to teach you HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which are the 3 necessary components to creating a website from scratch. It'll be helpful if you've done something like Java or C++ or something like that before, but not wholly necessary. We will learn the fundamentals of coding here together. This website is free forever, so it's open source. You can share this website with your friends. The videos will be free forever, so you can also share these with your friends on Front-End Masters. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the setup, the things that you will need to get started with this workshop. You'll need a laptop of some variety. This would be really hard to do on a mobile phone. So anything that has like Mac OS or like Windows 10 or above, Windows 11 would be fine as well, or something like Ubuntu Linux or something like that. 8 gigs of RAM would get you through this course perfectly, but you could probably do most of this on 4 and maybe even 2 gigs of RAM. You'd probably be okay with for all of this. None of this should be very computationally difficult. So I'll be using Visual Studio Code throughout the course of this. I will be giving you kind of tips and tricks of how to use Visual Studio Code. I was on the VS Code team, so I'm a little bit biased about that. So you can use other editors, but I'll be showing you Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to suggest that you install Visual Studio Code for this course. And then I just wanted to kind of answer some questions. People always ask me, like, what's your font, what's your theme, those kind of things. So I use a font called Mona Lisa. It's not free. But be sure to enable ligatures. And we'll talk about this a ton throughout the course. But it'll take like an equal sign and an equal sign that are next to each other, and it'll combine them into like a longer equal sign. So it'll have these like special glyphs that make it easier to read for code. Otherwise, Dan Kamano is a cool font. Microsoft's Cascadia Code, that's another good font to use for your coding editor. And specifically, Cascadia Code is free, so that's nice. For my theme, I use Dark Plus. That's the default VS Code theme. I just always liked it. Though I do hop into Sarah Drasner's Night Owl from time to time. For the terminal, I use macOS's built-in terminal. If I'm on Windows, I use Windows Terminal. That's a great one as well. And then for the icons that you see in my VS Code, it's called VS Code Icons. I left a little link in there for that as well. Cool. So where to file issues. If I've made a mistake in here, or if you find like a spelling error, this website is open source. You can click here, and you can see I already have a issue open here. So you can just click New Issue, file the issue, and then we can go fix it. Because again, I'm only human, right? I make lots of spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes in here, so feel free to do that. And then cool, so let me give you a bit of an introduction. So hopefully that's a bit about you and why you want to be here and what you're going to learn. I'll tell you about a little bit who I am and hopefully why you should trust me with your education of learning how to code. So my name is Brian Holt. I am a product manager at a company called Stripe, which is a financial tech company. If you've ever checked out on something like DoorDash or Lyft or any sort of Shopify kind of website like, I don't know, Allbirds or something like that, all of the payment infrastructure for all that is run by Stripe, and I get to work on that. I'm the product manager of the developer tools for Stripe, so I work on the Visual Studio Code extension, the CLI, the SDKs, all sorts of stuff like that. Basically, I build tools that developers then use to build other things. I've been doing that for some years. I did that for Visual Studio Code. I did it for Microsoft Azure. And then before that, I was a JavaScript developer for like a decade at companies like LinkedIn, Netflix, Reddit, some other smaller startups. So I've been doing this for a while. I've written a lot of code, and I still write a lot of code. Between my day job, where I still write some code as a product manager, to writing stuff at night just for fun. So how I learned to code when I was 10. My older brother, who was a engineering student at the time, would make me write code before he would let me play video games, which at the time, 10-year-old Brian was very upset about this. While that was very frustrating at the time, and still screw you, Ben, it set me up for success for today to be a coder and product manager and all that kind of stuff. So while I did learn to code at 10, it's totally fine if you are not that age, right? You don't have to be a 10-year-old to have a career in software development. I've hired 50-year-old junior developers before, right? So you can do it at any age. So this industry is welcoming to people of all sizes and shapes, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So again, the skills here are very learnable for anyone that has the perseverance to go through it and try and learn them. And even if you're not trying to be a software developer, that's totally fine. I think coding contributes to literally any industry that you want to be in, right? Like I've seen lawyers and accountants use code to make their jobs better, easier, faster, all those sorts of things. So when I'm not writing front-end masters courses or working, I live in Seattle. I like to travel. I like to hang out with my wife and kid. I have a cute little dog. You will see lots of pictures of Luna throughout this entire course, and I am not sorry about that. I like to exercise. I do like a lot of Peloton. And then I also play Overwatch and Dota very poorly. Usually get my butt kicked almost every time. Well, let's rephrase that, every time. As well as like I really like Scotch. I like IPAs. I like coffee, those sorts of things. Look at that handsome gentleman. So feel free to catch up with me on social media. I'll say that I'm not the best at responding to DMs, so just be aware of that. But you'll usually find me on Twitter. That's usually where I spend most of my time. But I also have LinkedIn, GitHub, and if you're on Peloton, we can race, and you can probably win there as well. One last request: if you have a GitHub account, just star this repo. You can click there, and you click on the star thing up. I haven't even started my own repo. starred, just like that. That helps, it makes it more discoverable for other people, and it also just strokes my fragile ego, so please help me. Okay, so some expectations that I want to kind of level set before we start hopping into everything. This course is really difficult. If you've never written code before, this is going to be hard. There's some hard projects in this, and I push you pretty hard in this course. It's not intended to be easy. It's intended to be useful. So it's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to hit the wall. It's okay to, like, all these feelings are valid. So don't get too down on yourself. Like, the enemy here is discouragement. If you get discouraged or burned out or something like that, that is where, like, you lose, right? And you'll fall off. So it's more important for you to say, like, I understand that this is hard, I understand this is difficult, and have a lot of patience for yourself. Probably the most important thing that you can take away from this section is don't compare yourself to others, right? It's really easy to look over at someone that you know that writes code, or other people on the internet, and say, like, this person learned to code in 15 minutes flat, and it was so easy for them, and they can do all these amazing things, and I can't do it. I'm not that. And to get really, really down on yourself. So you have a perfect knowledge of your own shortcomings, and you have an imperfect understanding of the